Happy holidays from Bloodbath and beyond. Today we review Silent Night. He knows who's been naughty.
Directed by Stephen C. Miller, starring Malcolm McDowell, Courtney Palm, and Jaime King, Silent Night is one of those movies that everybody thinks is a remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, which that isn't the case. They are not the same, but they have similar concepts in which a serial killer Santa is on the loose in a small town, and he's hacking people up with an axe and other assorted weapons. The bulk of the story revolves around Jaime King's character, Aubrey, who's investigating a series of murders. Unfortunately, it happens to be the day where the big Santa Claus parade is being put on, and there are literally hundreds of Santas roaming the streets, any of which could be a murderous Santa. So what do we like?
Like it was mentioned, a lot of people think this is a remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, and that isn't really the case, but they do a lot of callbacks in the film, which is a nice touch, and you can kind of see where the confusion is because there are the similarities, and the ones that we see are really good.
This is a really lightweight slasher movie. Not a lot's going on, just killer Santas. I'm pretty sure I've said the same thing for every other Santa killer movie that we've ever watched. But it's true. It's really just a badass Santa that's going around killing people in awesome ways. And I think this is one of like the better killer Santas because he actually just destroys some people. In this movie, we get some really unique kills and some great practical gore. This has one of my favorite head splits in any movie ever, and it's just glorious.
On top of that, he's got a variety of weapons. We see a flame-throwing Santa in this movie. When do we ever see people going around with flamethrowers? This was one of those films where Santa was kicking ass and he was kicking the right people's asses, that's for sure. And that's saying something when you're happy to see the people who are dying, because everyone was like naughty and you wanted them to die.
Especially that little bitch of a child. She'd be grounded every day of her life, I think.
Fuck church. I want my new LV today.
And the priest, between all like the creeping he was doing on all the ladies or just being a dick, he was a bad person.
I don't know why this is, but it seemed like almost every male character in this movie was kind of creepy. It's a really strange aspect. But they definitely focused on it from like almost every Santa encounter was like creepy. However, there are some very sexy Santas in this movie as well. We have tons of gorgeous ladies in this movie. Of course, Courtney Palm, and she's topless doing like a sexy photo shoot. There's Courtney Jane White, who plays Tiffany, and she's just a bombshell. And we just have like the hottest carolers I've ever seen. Like, I turned to John like, we need to find more caroling. And it's nice to see another Jessica Cameron role in another Santa movie.
And a pleasant surprise is we have Malcolm McDowell in this movie. He was the sheriff and he was getting stuff done and he was like, it's my way or the highway because I know everything.
I really liked that every time that he came on screen, the music would change to like a slightly Western tune as if he's the only sheriff in town.
Where do you think he went?
Wherever he feels safe.
Well, I'm on his tail now. There's nowhere safe.
This is a higher budget movie, so the production value is excellent, the cinematography is great, and I really enjoyed the pacing because we have a lot of kills and we have just kind of a lot going on, and it doesn't really lull for the most part. Now, what didn't we like?
Yes, this film had a high budget, so the cinematography, the production value was expected to be high. My biggest dislike with the cinematography is the shaky cam. The in your face, something's going on, so let's make the camera go all crazy, shaky.
I also found it really obnoxious more towards like the final confrontation. Not only do we have shaky cam and super close-up shots, we also have like a terrible red tint. It's like 20 minutes or 15 minutes long, and you can't see shit when it's like the red. And it doesn't help that everybody's wearing fucking red in a red lit room.
I gotta be honest, did not like Jaime King. There was something about her that I didn't like. She felt bland. She felt boring. She wasn't well developed, and I think that has to come down with how her acting was.
Listen, this one's big, all right? Size 13 boots, over 6 feet. Anyone matching that description, you bring him in immediately for questioning.
And it's weird because I've seen her do better. Like, if you guys have seen our review of My Bloody Valentine 3D, she was also in that, so another remake, I guess. She was great, but in this one, her character is just like kind of monotone, and you don't really care. So her scenes kind of almost all blend together because it's just her going from murder scene to murder scene after a murder, and just becomes repetitive. Couple that with the acting and the lack of her actual character development, you just kind of have like a mediocre subplot.
Now, I did like the callbacks to Silent Night, Deadly Night. There were some callbacks that I think were just pointless, and they tried too hard to make it seem like it was a remake. We have a really awkward scene with a grandson and a grandfather that this old man who is supposedly in a coma just comes out of nowhere and just says how evil Santa Claus is. Like, yeah, that's straight from Silent Night, Deadly Night, but at the same time, it really didn't make sense for what was going on in the story because it doesn't tie in other than the fact that we know there is a murderous Santa around.
And I'm starting to think that maybe some of these scenes were kind of thrown in to make it more like a Silent Night, Deadly Night remake. Because, I mean, this is the guy that made Automaton Transfusion. I don't know if this movie would have got the pull that it wanted without some of these callbacks. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I enjoyed Silent Night. It's one of those movies that I actually do watch most years just because it's fun. It's just a killer Santa with an axe and a flamethrower doing what he's gotta do. It looks great, it's got a high production value, and it's just a fun movie. It does have its flaws, but it's still a movie that I'm going to watch next year. So I'm gonna give this 4 wood chippers out of 5.
There's a lot in this movie that I enjoyed, and I think a lot of you are gonna enjoy. The kills are really cool, but the problem I have with it is the main focus of this story with Aubrey's character and how it just was not developed. It was too boring, and I couldn't get invested in that. Throw in a lot of shaky cam and a final scene that you could barely see what was going on. It just kind of takes you away from the movie. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this 2 bad Santas out of 5.
Never trust your parents.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.